Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive for another holy discussion. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this episode, and press that bell icon so you don't miss out on future deep dives. Today, we're diving into a fascinating concept from Gene Slatter's book, Hiring the Heavens. And it's this idea that we can call upon spiritual assistance to help us in our daily lives.
Yeah, what's so captivating about this book is that it moves beyond abstract spirituality and gives us like a practical framework for actually accessing the support system, you know? Instead of just hoping for the best, what if we could actively engage with the spiritual realm?
I love that.
To achieve our goals, you know?
It's a really intriguing idea. And Slatter doesn't just throw out the theory. She backs it up with real-life examples of people who have used these techniques to achieve incredible things.
Exactly. That's what makes it so compelling. It's not just wishful thinking, you know? It's about taking practical steps to tap into a power that's available to all of us.
Okay, so let's break it down. Where do we even begin with this whole hiring the heavens thing?
Well, the first key concept Slatter introduces is this idea of bringing heaven to earth in our minds.
See, we're not talking about some literal physical manifestation of heaven, right?
Right. It's more about shifting our perception, about seeing the world through what Slatter calls divine eyes.
So how do we actually make that shift?
It starts with recognizing the power of our own minds. You know, every thought we have, every belief we hold shapes our reality.
Right.
So if we want to experience heaven on earth, we need to start by cultivating thoughts and beliefs that are aligned with that vision.
It's almost like we're creating a blueprint for the reality we want to experience.
That's a great way to put it. You know, it's about consciously choosing thoughts that empower us and align with our highest potential.
Okay, so let's say I'm facing a challenging situation, maybe a conflict at work.
Okay.
Or a creative block.
Yeah.
How can I apply this idea of bringing heaven to earth to help me navigate that challenge?
Okay, let's take the example of a conflict at work. Instead of focusing on the negativity and getting caught up in the drama, you can try to see the situation from a more detached, compassionate perspective.
So almost like taking a step back and seeing the bigger picture.
Exactly. Ask yourself, what's the lesson here? What's the opportunity for growth?
Right.
And then visualize a harmonious resolution, even if it seems impossible at the moment.
So even if things feel chaotic on the surface, we can choose to focus on a more peaceful, harmonious reality in our minds.
Precisely. And by doing so, we're not denying the reality of the situation.
Right.
We're simply choosing to align our energy with a more positive outcome. We're inviting heaven into that situation.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about those times when we feel completely stuck?
Okay.
Like we're trying to shift our perspective.
Yeah.
But the negative thoughts just keep swirling around.
Slatter has a really interesting technique for dealing with those stubborn negative thoughts.
Okay.
She calls it thought replacement.
Thought replacement. What does that involve?
It's pretty straightforward. You know, every time a negative thought pops up, you immediately replace it with a positive affirmation.
So instead of thinking, I'm never going to get this project done, I might say to myself, I am capable and creative, and I will find a solution.
Exactly. It's about consciously interrupting those negative thought patterns.
Okay.
And replacing them with something more empowering. You know, you're basically retraining your mind to focus on the positive.
That's so interesting. It's like we're taking control of the narrative that's playing in our heads.
Right. It's about recognizing that we have a choice in how we think and feel.
Yeah.
And that by choosing positive thoughts, we can create a more positive reality.
So we've talked about shifting our perception and cultivating a more positive mindset.
Yeah.
But how does this actually connect to hiring the heavens? Where do the angels come in?
Well, once we've laid this foundation, we can start to actively engage with the spiritual realm. And this is where the angels come in. Slatter emphasizes that angels aren't these generic one-size-fits-all beings, you know. Right.
They are specialized helpers, each with unique skills and abilities.
Yeah.
Yeah, think of it like this. If you need help with a legal issue, you wouldn't hire a plumber, right? You'd seek out a lawyer, someone with expertise in that specific area.
It's the same with angels. There's a specialist for everything.
Exactly. There are angels who specialize in healing creativity, finances, relationships, you name it.
So how do we know which angels to call upon? It's not like we can just look them up in the yellow pages.
That's where intuition comes in, you know? Trust your gut feeling.
Right.
If you're facing a challenge in a particular area of your life, simply ask for assistance from the angels who specialize in that area.
So if I'm struggling with a creative block,
Yeah.
I might call upon the angels of inspiration.
Exactly. You can even give your group of angels a name like the Creative Genius Squad. It might sound silly,
right?
but it helps to solidify your intention and focus your energy.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've identified the area where we need help.
We've called upon the specialized angels.
Right.
What's next? How do we actually communicate with them?
Slatter outlines a really clear 6-step method
Okay.
for requesting spiritual assistance. The first step is to be crystal clear about what you need help with.
Okay.
The clearer your request, the better.
So instead of just saying, help me with my finances,
Yeah.
I might say, help me to attract new clients and increase my income.
Exactly. Be as specific as possible.
Okay.
The second step is to voice your request aloud.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be a formal prayer. Speak from the heart with sincerity and authenticity.
So it's more about the intention behind the words than the words themselves.
Exactly. The third step is to visualize the outcome you desire.
Okay.
See it, experience it as if it's already happened.
So if I'm looking for a new job,
Yeah.
I might visualize myself walking into a beautiful office, feeling confident and excited about my new role.
Precisely, the fourth step is a bit trickier.
Okay.
Releasing your desire without attachment. This means trusting that the universe has heard your request and is working on your behalf.
Okay.
Even if you can't see how it's all going to unfold.
Okay, so it's about letting go of that need to control every detail and trusting that the universe has a plan.
Exactly. The fifth step is to maintain faith and confidence.
Okay.
Believe that help is on its way, even if you don't see immediate results.
It's like planting a seed and trusting that it will eventually grow into a beautiful flower.
I love that analogy.
We can't force the process, but we can nurture it with our positive thoughts and beliefs.
Yes. And finally, the sixth step is to express gratitude.
Okay.
Thank the angels for their assistance even before you see the results.
So even if it feels like nothing's happening, we should still express gratitude as if our request has already been granted.
Exactly. Gratitude is a powerful force that amplifies the energy of our requests and opens us up to receive even more blessings.
This is all so fascinating. It's like we're learning a whole new language.
Yeah.
The language of the spiritual realm.
And just like learning any new language, it takes practice. But the more we practice, the more fluent we become in communicating with our spiritual team and co-creating the reality we desire.
This has been incredibly enlightening.
Good.
But before we move on, I want to touch on something we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, okay.
These spiritual work groups. Can we unpack that a little more?
Absolutely. When you're tackling a particularly complex project or challenge,
Okay.
it can be helpful to assemble a specialized team of angels to assist you.
Okay.
Just like in the corporate world,
Right.
a team can accomplish more than an individual working alone.
So it's like forming a dream team of angels, each with their own unique expertise, all dedicated to helping us achieve our goals.
Exactly. And it's actually quite simple to do.
All right.
The first step is to give your work group a name, something that clearly reflects its purpose.
So if I'm working on writing a book,
Yeah.
I might call my team the literary dream team or something like that.
Perfect. The name helps to solidify your intention
Okay.
and give your team a sense of identity.
Okay.
Next, you need to define the mission of your work group.
Okay. What specific problem or project are you tackling? What are your desired outcomes? Write it all down
Okay.
as clearly and concisely as possible.
So instead of just saying, help me write a book,
Yeah.
I might write something like, to write a book that inspires and empowers readers to live their best lives.
Exactly. Be as specific as possible about the message you want to convey and the impact you want to have.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've named our team.
Yeah.
We've defined the mission.
Right.
What's next?
Now it's time to recruit your specialists.
Okay.
Think about the specific skills and expertise you need to accomplish your mission. Do you need help with research, marketing, editing?
Right.
Brainstorm a list of all the specialists you want on your team.
So in the case of writing a book, I might recruit a spiritual editor, a muse for inspiration, maybe even a celestial marketing guru.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to get creative and have fun with it.
Right.
Remember, you're working with the spiritual realm here, so anything is possible. This is amazing. I'm starting to see how powerful this process can be. But how do we know if our spiritual work group is actually, working?
That's a great question. And the answer lies in paying attention to the signs and synchronicities that start to show up in your life.
Synchronicities? What do you mean by that?
Synchronicities are those meaningful coincidences that seem to happen for a reason, even if we can't logically explain them.
Okay.
They're often a sign that the universe is working behind the scenes
Right.
to orchestrate events in our favor.
So, if I'm looking for a specific piece of information for my book and I suddenly stumble upon an article that has exactly what I need.
That's a perfect example.
Okay.
Or maybe you meet someone who has a connection to the publishing industry just when you're ready to start pitching your manuscript.
Right.
These seemingly random events are often signs that your spiritual work group is on the job guiding you towards your goals.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
It's like they're dropping little breadcrumbs along our path. So how can we become more attuned to these signs and synchronicities?
The key is to cultivate a sense of awareness and presence.
Yep.
Pay attention to your intuition, those gut feelings that guide you towards certain places or ideas.
So it's about trusting our inner compass.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask your spiritual work group for guidance. Ask them to make their presence known.
Right.
To send you clear signs that they're working with you.
Okay, so we formed our spiritual work group.
Right.
We're paying attention to the signs. But what about those times when we hit a roadblock? What if things aren't moving as quickly as we'd like?
That's where patience comes in.
Yeah.
Remember, the universe operates on its own timeline.
Well,
Just because we don't see immediate results doesn't mean that our spiritual work group isn't working on our behalf.
it's easy to get discouraged when we don't see instant gratification.
Absolutely.
Especially in today's fast-paced world.
But it's important to remember that we're planting seeds here, not harvesting crops.
Okay.
It takes time for those seeds to germinate and grow.
So instead of getting frustrated when things don't happen right away,
Yeah.
we should focus on nurturing those seeds with our positive thoughts, beliefs, and actions.
Precisely. And remember, the universe often works in mysterious ways.
Right.
What might seem like a setback could actually be a redirection towards something even better.
So we should trust the process even when it feels challenging or uncertain.
Exactly. Trust that your spiritual work group is guiding you towards your highest good, even if you can't see the path ahead. And don't forget to celebrate the small victories along the way.
Right.
Every step forward, no matter how small, is a sign that you're moving in the right direction.
This has been so eye-opening.
Yeah.
It's truly empowering to realize that we have this incredible support system available to us and that we can actively participate in co-creating the reality we desire.
It is. And the most exciting part is that this is just the beginning.
Right.
As we continue to explore the principles of hiring the heavens,
Right.
we'll discover even more profound ways to tap into our spiritual potential and create a life that is truly aligned with our soul's purpose.
This has been incredibly enlightening. But for now, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll explore the fascinating ways in which our spiritual team communicates with us and how we can become more receptive to their guidance. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Now that we've explored the concept of spiritual work groups and how to form them, I'm really curious about how these celestial teams actually communicate with us. It's such an intriguing idea.
It really is. And it's something that many people struggle with.
Right.
Especially at first. You know, we're so used to communicating through words and actions.
Right.
But the spiritual realm operates on a much subtler frequency.
So it's about learning to tune into those subtler signals.
Exactly. And the good news is that we all have the ability to do so.
Okay.
We just need to cultivate the awareness and receptivity to
Right.
pick up on those signals.
So what are some of the ways our spiritual team tries to communicate with us?
One of the most common ways is through intuition.
Okay.
Those gut feelings or inner nudges that guide us
Right.
towards certain choices or actions.
It's like that feeling you get when you know you should or shouldn't do something, even if you can't logically explain why.
Exactly. That's your intuition speaking. And it's often your spiritual team trying to guide you in the right direction.
So we shouldn't ignore those gut feelings.
Definitely not. Your intuition is a powerful tool.
Okay.
And it's often your first line of communication with the spiritual realm. Learn to trust those inner nudges,
Right.
even if they don't make sense at the time.
That's a good reminder. It's so easy to dismiss those feelings as just random thoughts or anxieties. But what if they're actually messages from our spiritual team?
Exactly. And the more we pay attention to those messages, the stronger and clearer they become.
Okay, so intuition is one way.
Yeah.
What are some other ways our spiritual team might try to communicate with us?
Another common way is through dreams.
Okay.
Have you ever had a dream that felt particularly vivid or meaningful?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wake up from a dream and I can't shake the feeling that it was trying to tell me something.
That's a great example. Our dreams are often a portal to the spiritual realm,
Okay.
and our spiritual team can use them to communicate messages, insights, and guidance.
So we should pay attention to those dreams that really stick with us.
Definitely keep a dream journal by your bed,
Okay.
and jot down any dreams that feel significant.
Okay.
Look for recurring symbols, themes, or emotions. These often hold hidden messages from your spiritual team.
That's a great tip. I'm going to start doing that tonight. But sometimes dreams can be so cryptic and hard to interpret. Any tips for deciphering those dream messages?
A good starting point is to simply ask your spiritual team for clarity.
Okay.
Before you go to sleep, set the intention to receive clear and understandable messages in your dreams.
Okay.
And when you wake up, take some time to reflect on the dream and ask your spiritual team to help you understand its meaning.
That makes sense. It's like we're inviting them into the process of interpretation.
Exactly. And don't get discouraged if you don't understand the message right away.
Right.
Sometimes it takes time for the meaning to unfold.
So we've talked about intuition in dreams.
Yeah.
What are some other ways our spiritual team might communicate with us?
Another way is through synchronicities, those meaningful coincidences that we talked about earlier.
Those aha moments when things just seem to fall into place.
Exactly. Synchronicities are often a sign that your spiritual team is orchestrating events behind the scenes to guide you towards your highest good.
So if I'm feeling lost or uncertain about a particular decision,
Yeah.
I might ask my spiritual team for a sign.
Okay.
And then pay attention to any synchronicities that occur.
That's a great way to approach it.
Yeah.
Set the intention, be open to the possibilities.
Okay.
And trust that the universe will deliver the guidance you need.
Right.
Often in the most unexpected ways.
This is so cool. It's like we're playing a cosmic game of hide and seek with our spiritual team.
I love that analogy. It's a reminder to approach this process with a sense of playfulness and curiosity.
Right.
The more we open ourselves to the wonder and mystery of the spiritual realm, the more we'll discover its incredible power and magic.
So we've covered intuition, dreams, and synchronicities.
Yes.
Are there any other ways our spiritual team might try to communicate with us?
They can also communicate through physical sensations. Have you ever felt a sudden surge of energy or a warm, tingling sensation seemingly out of nowhere?
Oh, yes. Sometimes I get this feeling of warmth in my chest, like a wave of love washing over me.
That's a beautiful example. Those physical sensations can be a very direct way for your spiritual team to make their presence known. We're basically sending you a hug from the spiritual realm.
That's so sweet. I'm going to pay more attention to those subtle physical cues from now on.
I encourage you to. They're often more common than we realize.
Right.
But we're so used to dismissing them as just random bodily sensations.
Right. We're so conditioned to focus on the external world that we often miss those subtle signals from within.
Exactly. But the more we cultivate a sense of inner awareness,
right,
the more receptive we become to those whispers from the spiritual realm.
This is also fascinating. But I have to admit, there's still a part of me that wonders, how do we know for sure that we're not just making this all up? How do we know it's not just our imagination running wild?
That's a very valid question, and it's one that I grappled with for a long time.
Right.
The truth is there's no scientific test that can prove or disprove the existence of the spiritual realm.
Okay.
It comes down to faith and personal experience.
So it's a leap of faith.
In a way, yes, but it's a leap that's supported by centuries of spiritual teachings and countless personal testimonies.
Right.
And ultimately, the proof lies in the results.
So if we start to see positive changes in our lives, if we feel more guided, supported, and connected to something greater than ourselves,
right,
that's evidence enough.
Exactly. It's like any other skill.
Right.
The more we practice, the more proficient we become.
Right.
And the more we open ourselves to the possibilities,
Okay.
the more evidence we'll find that the spiritual realm is real and that it's working through us.
This is so empowering. It's a reminder that we're not just passive observers in our own lives. We have the ability to co-create our reality in partnership with the divine.
Beautifully said. And the more we embrace this partnership, the more we'll unlock our true potential and create a life that is truly aligned with our soul's purpose.
This has been such an enlightening conversation. It's opened my mind to a whole new world of possibilities.
I'm so glad to hear that. And remember, this is just the beginning.
Right.
As we continue to explore the principles of hiring the heavens,
What?
you'll discover even more profound ways to tap into our spiritual power and create a life that is filled with joy, abundance, and meaning.
This has been the deep dive, folks. But our exploration doesn't end here. We have so much more to cover on this topic of hiring the heavens.
Yeah.
Make sure you join us for part 3 of this fascinating deep dive. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into hiring the heavens. We've covered so much ground already, from shifting our perception to forming these spiritual work groups, even learning to decipher messages from our spiritual team.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. We've only just, scratched the surface of this topic.
One thing that's resonating with me is this idea of co-creation. It's empowering to realize that we're not just passive recipients of whatever life throws our way. We can actually partner with the divine to shape our reality.
That's the heart of hiring the heavens. It's recognizing that we have agency, that we're not alone in this journey, and that we have access to incredible support if we just learn to ask for it and work in harmony with the spiritual realm.
It's a beautiful concept, but I think a lot of people might struggle with actually asking for help. We live in a culture that values independence and self-reliance. It can feel almost vulnerable to admit that we need help even from the spiritual realm.
That's so true. We're often conditioned to believe that asking for help is a sign of weakness, but Slatter really challenges that notion. She argues that asking for help is actually a sign of strength, of wisdom.
I like that.
Of recognizing that we don't have to do everything alone.
It's about tapping into a power greater than ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. And when we do that, when we humble ourselves and acknowledge that we need support, we open ourselves up to receive incredible blessings and guidance.
So how do we overcome that resistance to asking for help? What advice would you give to someone who's hesitant or even a little bit embarrassed to reach out to their spiritual team?
Start small. Instead of asking for a major life change right off the bat, try asking for guidance with a smaller everyday decision. Maybe you're feeling unsure about which route to take to work or what to order for dinner. Just close your eyes, take a deep breath, and ask your spiritual team for a little nudge in the right direction.
So it's about building trust through those smaller interactions.
Exactly. And as you start to see how your spiritual team responds to those smaller requests, you'll gain more confidence to ask for help with bigger challenges. You'll start to develop a real sense of partnership and collaboration.
That's so encouraging. It's like we're building a relationship with our spiritual team, just like we would with any other trusted friend or advisor.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And just like any relationship, it takes time, effort, and open communication to nurture and grow.
Speaking of communication, one question that often comes up is, what if we don't feel like we're getting any responses from our spiritual team?
Okay.
What if it feels like we're talking into a void?
That's a common concern, especially for people who are new to this practice. But it's important to remember that the spiritual realm operates on a different frequency than the material world.
Okay.
We may not always receive those clear, undeniable signs that we're hoping for.
So what can we do if we're feeling a little disconnected or unsure if our prayers are being heard?
First, check your energy. Are you approaching this process with a sense of openness, trust, and gratitude? Or are you coming from a place of fear, doubt, or desperation?
That's a good point. If we're feeling stressed or anxious, that might block the flow of communication, right?
Exactly. It's like trying to have a conversation with someone who's shouting at you. It's difficult to hear what they're saying.
So it's about creating a space of calm and receptivity.
Precisely, take some time to quiet your mind, connect with your breath, and cultivate a sense of peace and stillness. This will help you to become more attuned to those subtler whispers from the spiritual realm.
That makes sense. It's about creating a clear channel for communication.
Exactly. And sometimes it's helpful to adjust our expectations. We may not always receive a clear verbal message or a dramatic sign. The guidance might come in the form of a subtle feeling, a fleeting thought, or even a song on the radio that resonates with our current situation.
So it's about being open to receiving guidance in unexpected ways.
Absolutely. The universe often speaks to us in whispers and symbols and synchronicities. It's up to us to pay attention and decipher the messages.
It's like we're learning a whole new language, the language of the soul.
I love that analogy. And just like learning any new language, it takes practice, patience, and a willingness to make mistakes along the way.
This has been such a rich and insightful conversation. I feel like I've gained so much clarity and understanding about how to hire the heavens in my own life.
I'm so glad to hear that. And remember, this is a lifelong journey of exploration and discovery. The more we open ourselves to the wisdom and guidance of the spiritual realm, the more we'll unlock our true potential and create a life that is truly aligned with our soul's purpose.
This has been an incredible deep dive into hiring the heavens. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listeners, we encourage you to continue exploring this fascinating topic. Pick up a copy of Gene Slatter's book, Hiring the Heavens, and start experimenting with these principles in your own life. You might be surprised by the incredible results you manifest.
Remember, you have the power to create the life of your dreams. You have a whole team of celestial helpers cheering you on every step of the way. So keep believing, keep exploring, and keep shining your light.
This has been the Deep Dive, folks. Until next time, keep those celestial connections strong.